Hi, and welcome to the Delta Dialogue. In this podcast, we talk about open data, open medical data, and AI from above and beyond and explore its implications to our world. On the fourth episode of our series on open medical data, we will focus and discuss on the current ecosystem around open medical data and AI. I'm your host, Emir Mustafa. Today, I am joined by my co host and commentator, David Wood, and our guest speaker, Badr Busabat. Badr Busabat is the founder and president of AI Together, a global organization promoting the inclusive use of AI. He is an international speaker, advisor to the International Group of AI, management committee member of the Belgium Finance Center, and the tech leader for the Kingdom of Belgium's economic missions. He is currently working as a senior advisor and a communication officer at EastNets. Hi, Butter. Can you tell us about yourself and what you're currently working on?
Hello all. Thank you very much for the invitation. Yeah, indeed. I'm currently working on my third book, so I hope it's gonna be released in the upcoming month. The goal here again is to highlight about the positive impact of artificial intelligence and also make people understand how we're gonna make our world a better place thanks to artificial intelligence. I'm also working with EastNet in order to highlight artificial intelligence in combating financial crime in general.
What's the title of your new book? Has that been decided yet?
Not yet. It's a very difficult. I mean, this is in general the last thing we do, the last element we perform because I mean, a title is something so personal that I mean it pops up when you end drafting the book, and let's see. But still thinking about it.
We'll look forward to finding out what that is in due course.
Thank you, David.
Let's start with AI. Could you elaborate on the opportunities AI will bring to businesses into the 2023? Because I know that you're quite optimistic about AI and businesses, especially right now in 2023. Opportunities also bring risks, as you well know. What would be some of the major risks of AI for businesses this year and beyond?
Yeah, indeed, it's a very good question. I'm optimistic because there are facts, very important facts. By the way, an MIT study conducted 2 years ago, if I do remember correctly, state that over 50% of companies are actually changing their business models, business operation by 2024 because of AI. And in order to create a successful AI strategy, it's very important for any business to identify internal business process first, and then see how artificial intelligence gonna be something very useful for their business. And AI in general can be used to develop a plan for delivering customized, engaging, and informative content to specific accounts, customers. And artificial intelligence is well known for automating process of researching and gathering relevant information. And I know we're gonna talk about ChatGPT 3 a bit later on this podcast. And thanks to that, we can predict revenue also and assist in managing sales channels, inventory, and other resources. In my point of view, data analysis is essential for staying ahead of trends. You were talking about 2023. This is the point I wanna highlight here. With the vast amount of data available, um, analyzing and utilizing AI, it can lead to increased returns. It's about, of course, increasing performance, but also about staying in the market because artificial intelligence could make you rich very quickly, but it could also push you out of the game because with the cognitive capitalism, you can earn money on a very quickly basis, but you can also lose money very quickly. This is how it goes. This is the new rules with artificial intelligence. And AI and machine learning in general assist businesses in analyzing data and generating actionable insights. I think board directors in general um, are increasingly paying attention to artificial intelligence, and there are also risks. we can notice within boards in general in companies that more and more chief risk officers um, are let's say active, because we know that artificial intelligence is somehow a systemic tool, meaning that it will have an impact on all sectors simultaneously, and it will cause a drop in costs theoretically, but it's gonna also face businesses. It's gonna also push businesses to face some risks. This is why chief risk officers are increasingly um, important in in the boards in order to better find the right strategy.
Do you have some examples of the companies that have used AI, as you've suggested, and actually improved their performance, or in other words, say, boosted their profits? Because what you described sounds very good as a general principle, but if there are some that you can share, that would be very useful.
Sure, we do not talk a lot and enough about the financial sector in general. And as I said a little bit earlier, I'm working with ISNET. They deliver high quality products on artificial intelligence to combat financial crime in general. And what we can see is that artificial intelligence, um, let's say, motivates companies, motivates banks to better understand their customers. Because with artificial intelligence, you need customers' data in order to propose or to offer a better service. And there is something interesting with that. When you use artificial intelligence on the long-term basis, you are more likely actually to increase spendings. And this is one of the most, let's say, important aspects companies have been facing for a while, is that costs and let's say spendings in general are becoming a real challenge. With artificial intelligence, this is something that can help businesses to tackle. So in my point of view, there is an indirect, let's say, effect of artificial intelligence in the financial sector, because actually banks and financial institutions in general can deploy their efforts on other businesses, on other departments, and let artificial intelligence be, let's say, active in predicting and anticipating fraud and money laundering.
Since we're talking about examples here, I want to one of the examples you give in your book, l'intelligence artificielle, notre meilleur espoir. You mentioned that a company succeeded developing a drug against fibrosis with the help of AI. To what extent has AI contributed in this development? Can you explain more about what you mentioned here?
Yes, AI has played a substantial role in the development of drugs for fibrosis, and there are numerous studies showing the benefits of its application. And according to research reports by Market, the global AI in drug discovery market is expected to reach over 3 billion by 2026. This is an important element to highlight and to consider. One of the main ways AI is used in the development of drugs for fibrosis is through its ability to analyze large amounts of data. For instance, recently a study published in the Journal of Medical Internet Research found that AI algorithms were able to accurately identify potential drug targets for fibrosis by analyzing genetic data for over 200,000 patients. This can greatly aid the identification of specific genetic mutation that contribute to the disease, which can then be targeted by new drugs. Um, there's also another area where artificial intelligence has been applied in the screening of large libraries of compounds to detect, to identify potential drug candidates. There is another study conducted by the University of Manchester in UK, and that study reported that AI algorithms were able to identify potential drug candidates for fibrosis with an accuracy of up 70 or 80%. In my point of view, that kind of discovery can greatly accelerate the drug discovery process, reducing the number of compounds that need to be tested in laboratory and clinic trials. This is the same observation we can perform when it's about analyzing healthcare in general. I talk about the financial sector. Indeed, when you use AI, there is immediately an indirect effect because you do not spend time on time consuming tasks. And this is very important because everything now is based on business. We need to understand how we could be profitable and how, to what extent we can reduce the costs in general. So this is very important to highlight.
I think the idea with some of these drug discovery mechanisms is that the AI is fed information about some drugs which are known to be effective against diseases such as fibrosis. And then they're fed the details of large amounts of other drugs which have never been tested against fibrosis, but we know some of their characteristics because they've been trialed for other diseases. For example, there might be an anti diabetic drug, or there might be a drug to deal with swelling of some sort. And then these systems just miraculously suggest, well, this other drugs, this vast number, here's a small subset that seem to have the same characteristics as the ones that are successful. Therefore, why don't you humans test this small subset? Focus your attention here. And that was the way that things accelerate. Is that your understanding as well, Badra, of how this works?
Yes, yes. I mean, I'm always using this following paradigm. It's about thinking as an AI economist, you see, and and my goal here is to incentivize hospitals, scientists, companies in general to understand how they can deploy efforts on other actions, because actually artificial intelligence here remove all these time-consuming tasks, and in my point of view, this implied, let's say, links, ties uh, between elements, between different components of data is not understandable. This is not understandable by human beings in general. We need artificial intelligence to get it, to understand it, and we can apply this mechanism, this understanding to all domains, to all fields in general, including fibrosis.
One thing I wanted to ask on this topic is that in a previous episode of the Delta Dialogue, we spoke with Professor Jeffrey Lee Funk, and he was very skeptical of the of AI's contributions in this matter, and that testing was the main protagonist of drug discovery. Could I have maybe a short opinion of yours on this stance? Do you agree, or do you think that AI has a much bigger role than what most people think?
If we go through history, we have been always mistaking about how technology in general can contribute to the humankind, to humanity. In my point of view, it's very difficult now to confirm, to affirm that artificial intelligence will be the hero of the game, of the story. But what I can tell you is that on a yearly basis, we were always, let's say, surprised about how artificial intelligence evolves. So, in my point of view, we can't conclude about this fact. I think Professor Jeffrey, right? If I okay, thank you. Um, is not wrong, but he's not right neither, because we still wait for better AI development, and we can't confirm anything till the end. So, in my point of view, we should wait a little bit. Artificial intelligence in general is quite surprising. On a yearly basis, we discover new things, new way to use data, to maximize the use of data, to optimize the quality of data. So let's wait for it.
Since we're talking about data as well. One thing I wanted to ask you about is what do you think actually about the UN's call for global open medical data and open medical data in general?
Let's be straight. First of all, the first element we can highlight is that data is human generated. It doesn't come from nowhere. It reflects a representation that exists and belongs to us. In my point of view, empowering patients with easy access to their health information can enhance the involvement in their own care. And there is also a recent survey conducted by Popular Insight. I think it has been released a few days ago. It revealed that a majority of consumers, over 60%, do not have sufficient access to their medical information. And the survey, which polled over 1,000 patients in the US, highlights the importance it stressed that a patient place on having access to their own medical records. And this is what they are expecting from the medical system. They need to use data, they need to exchange data with their doctors. Um, this survey also revealed that patients place a high importance on the security of their health data. Over 77% express this as a priority. And despite this, there is a significant majority of respondents that were who were willing to share their data anonymously in order to gain insight, enhance healthcare outcomes. This positive attitudes towards data sharing could be attributed, in my point of view, to the impact of the coronavirus pandemic, which has led to a rise in digital adoption, digital health adoption, and involvement among patients. So I am I stand for open medical data because I think it's going to be useful in the upcoming years, and this is how we can better protect health in general and protect people.
The thing is that open medical data as well as just data in general often has huge economic value. What is your opinion on the economic value of data? Can you talk more about that?
Yes, this is a very important question, and indeed, in my point of view, we do not explore this aspect very often. So thank you to highlight this aspect, Emir. Actually, what does that mean, a significant value? It's when something can be utilized in multiple ways. I will talk about federated learning a little bit later, but in my point of view, federated learning offers an economic value as it is inclusive. Um, when you use data, it's like when you use money repeatedly. Federated learning offers the ability to multiply the use of data by distributing its output for the benefits of all. Data, by definition, is inclusive as anyone can benefit from it. This is not the case with the existing system that doesn't use data properly. I strongly believe that science will advance thanks to open medical data. But let's take another view. Let's adopt another paradigm. It's also a way to invest in AI systems to put the development at a higher level. Data is investment, and it's honest to understand that data streams should be considered as extra monthly income we can inject again in the economy to make healthcare more resilient and effective. And I can add this extra element. Hospitals in general can use data to identify high risk patients and target preventative care measures that can reduce readmissions and lower costs. Because this is what we understood from several Chinese paper performed by Chinese academics during the coronavirus pandemic. We've seen that data um, was useful in better understanding let's say the situation of any patient, any new patient. And it's also a way to distinguish coronavirus pneumonia and classic conventional pneumonia. This lead to a decrease in the infection rate. And in my point of view, this is something very important we need to consider when the pandemic is raging on in the world. So it's very important to take that into consideration. Data has a value, and we can distribute this value around us. And as it's human generated process, we can't deny how extraordinary the process is.
So, an example of a patient being allowed home from hospital. If they're sent home too quickly, it can be bad because they're likely to have a relapse and need to come back in. On the other hand, if you keep patients in hospital too long, it clogs up beds. And in some parts of the world, I'm in the UK and we have a crisis with hospitals being overcrowded just now. Uh, If patients are kept too long, it means other people can't be admitted and they're having to stay in ambulances outside hospitals for hours, even days on end. So, if we have better information as to what kind of patient, in what circumstance, what their overall medical situation is, which ones can be sent home quickly and which ones need really to be kept in, then this is better for everyone. So, each individual person's data is a small contribution to doctors, hospital administrators getting a bigger picture and therefore supplying their limited medical resources in better ways for the whole community.
It's a good question, David. In my point of view, it depends on the performance of of artificial intelligence. To what extent artificial intelligence is used within hospitals, because if this artificial intelligence is, let's say, a rule-based system without any, let's say, useful prediction, indeed. Data and artificial intelligence will not be useful for doctors in general. But in my point of view, if we use, let's say, federated learning, for example, I've talked about it very quickly a little bit earlier. We can actually better predict respiratory failures. In my point of view, if we use artificial intelligence in a good way through respiratory failures and identification, we will be more likely to distinguish the patient we should keep in hospital and the others we can send to home. So it all depends on the artificial intelligence we are using. It also depends on the method we are using. For example, um, we were talking about the value of data. I said that artificial intelligence and data, by definition, are inclusive. Why? Because with further learning, we can use artificial intelligence to better predict respiratory failures, even in hospitals where data is lacking. Even in hospitals where we do not have enough patients to feed artificial intelligence with data. And in my point of view, this is one of the most extraordinary output artificial intelligence brought to the healthcare system, because we are more likely to distribute the benefit to hospitals that could be poor or in other countries and so on. So it all depends on the method we use, and it also depends on to what extent artificial intelligence is performant within the specified hospitals.
And how can hospital staff distinguish between the AIs that are marketed aggressively with attractive brochures from those which are more likely to actually work in practice? Because I can imagine doctors, hospital administrators, they're not deep learning experts. Do you have any help for them to avoid misusing their already stretched budget?
Very important question. Thank you, David, for asking this question. Indeed, actually, we need to reframe, to rethink the organization in hospitals in general. We need new teams. In my point of view, we need AI specialists supporting doctors in better predicting and I mean sicknesses in general and so on. So we need to rethink about concrete organization of hospitals. If we do not reframe, if we do not redefine how hospitals should work, we are not going to make it happen. Um, it it's fundamentally linked to how hospitals are organized. So of course, currently this is not the case. Currently, it's not that acceptable to change the way we work within hospitals. But in my point of view, we need to, let's say, hire AI specialists, AI entrepreneurs, and also to incentivize people to understand that the cooperation between public and private sectors are key. These partnerships will better help hospitals to organize themselves and to accept also artificial intelligence and another way of practicing.
Yeah, I want to go back and ask about, you mentioned federative learning. Can you elaborate that?
Yeah, sure. So federated learning is a specific method that used decentralized data. Let's take an example. You have a sample of 20 hospitals, and actually you can definitely understand that data will be inequally distributed, um, because you will have rich hospitals that have money to invest in new machines, in artificial intelligence in order to collect more data, and you will have also poorer, more modest hospitals that will not be able to analyze the patients they have. So with the federated learning, we can actually use local data in order to feed, let's say, a huge model covering all these hospitals, the sample. And indeed, the richer hospital will indirectly contribute to the poorer hospital, because the poor hospital will use the federated learning model, so the big model that covers all these hospitals, in order to predict or to better understand the patient they have. The second example, you have a rich hospital somewhere in the US, let's say in New York, and this hospital can analyze and predict respiratory failures on its patient, because they have AI available, they have money to invest on that, and you have also in the other part of the world, let's say somewhere, I don't know, in Uzbekistan, for example, in a very small village, you have a hospital that needs money to 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 invest in artificial intelligence. And thanks to this very rich hospital located in New York, this hospital in Uzbekistan will be uh, able to better distinguish, first of all, um, the patient they have, and then identify or predict respiratory failures in order to see which patient they can keep in the hospital. And this is an indirect contribution to the more modest hospital that needs money to improve. So in my point of view, the global cooperation will be key. Artificial intelligence is global development. And as we can see, even data is protected because this model use local data with a decentralized way of processing.
Is there a security angle in here as well? Because as I understood, the original concept behind federated learning addresses an issue you raised earlier, Badra, which is that people worry about their own confidential data leaking out in ways that they don't like. However, with federated learning, there's no requirement for all the data to be pumped into one central location in the cloud and then accessed by a learning network. Instead, it's not just the data that's decentralized, the computation is decentralized. So there are some parts of the calculation that will come on local devices, maybe in a particular hospital, that doesn't want their data to go abroad, it doesn't want their data to even leave the premises, but it's able to have the computation come onto its service, not to copy the data outside, but is able to access enough of it that it can then contribute to the overall deeper contributions, deeper conclusions of this decentralized learning processes.
Um, do you really think that artificial intelligence will be harmful for people in terms of privacy?
Well, the risk is that our data is partially anonymized, but then people can infer who it's actually coming from. So we might think, well, we've missed out our name, we've missed out our date of birth, and so nobody can find it. But if that data is then put somewhere central, then AI can join the dots. And there are lots of people who want to hack into systems. There are lots of people who want to steal our personal data. If they can identify enough data about us to impersonate us, they may ring up the bank and say, "Hey, I've been locked out of my account. Please let me back in." And the bank will say, "I don't believe you." And then that person will have got enough information about you to convince the bank, or if not the bank, a social network provider, "I've been locked out of my email. Please let me back in." And so there is the risk that one sort of AI could draw dots together and allow somebody else to impersonate us and then spend our money. Hence the need for this other kind of AI, I think, which is able to do the learning whilst keeping the confidential data locally and not putting it into a place where it's more vulnerable. So there's a kind of arms race, in fact, which is why I think I agree entirely with what you said. We need AI specialists in all these areas who are keeping up to date with what is a fairly fast changing environment.
Yeah, indeed. And also there is, I mean, the public authorities' intervention is required. I mean, we will not be able to protect privacy without public authorities. That's why I have been talking about partnership within the private and the public sectors. Because of that, I mean, we need a stronger state today in order to um, team up with the private sector in AI development. Let's say the private sector is this offensive machine that creates and make progress, and state public authorities are this defensive, let's say, machine that can prevent us from um, problems and obstacles like data leaking and so on. So the solution relies on a concrete organization, um, and it's about this partnership within, I mean, between the public and private sector. We can tell we can say that it's not a technical issue actually. It's a concrete issue, and this concrete issue can be faced only um, by this partnership between the private and the public sectors.
I wouldn't say it's not a technical issue. I would echo your words that there's a partnership required. Just as we need a partnership between public and private, we need a dual understanding of the technological possibilities, but also, very importantly, of the human responses, the set of ways in which humans might use that data. Because I'm reminded of the famous saying by a guru of business management that the deepest problems with technology are human problems. I'm paraphrasing. But that doesn't mean to say we can ignore the details of the technology. I think we need people who are skilled at both. And this is a new type of a skill, which is increasingly important so that we can get the real benefits of AI, which I share with you. They're immense.
Indeed, and let me add an extra element. Demography is also important in that point of view. We used to say that demography is problematic, but it depends on the approach we adopt. If we assume that our system is fully based on AI, demography becomes an opportunity. More data, better results. And in my point of view, it's going to generate more wealth and then a better condition of living. But in order to make that happen, again, we need these partnerships between the public and the private. But if we do consider that artificial intelligence is about to get generalized, I think demography would be something very useful for a better development. And then we can't prevent private sector and public sector from um, uh, developing from open medical data. In my point of view, we need to support this aspect in the near future.
Yeah, I think this also kind of like answers the question of that AI is actually one of the catalysts that plays as a major role to increase public private partnerships. And as you mentioned, open medical data success is also really reliant on this aspect. Thank you for listening to the Delta Dialogue. Here's what you'll find on the next episode of the Delta Dialogue.
Google wanted to firstly use artificial intelligence and data processing to see to what extent they can leverage on open medical data. In my point of view, it says a lot about the development of artificial intelligence in the near future, because now in 2023, we are able to predict pandemics thanks to artificial intelligence.
This episode is brought to you by Duyuan, a tech community focused on artificial intelligence in healthcare, machine learning, and related disciplines. I am Amir Mustafa, and see you next time.